Resident Evil 1, a true survival horror game, survived the Spencer Mansion's zombies and biological weapons in one of the best games of all time. Final Fantasy VII, one of the greatest JRPGs of all time, with a complex universe and multiple characters you must play. Metal Gear Solid, one of the masterpieces of Kojima, a unique stealth game, set in a complex and interesting world. Tekken, one of the first good 3D fighting game, with charismatic and quirky characters, and a fine gameplay. Tomb Raider, one of the first action-adventure with shooter features of all, and is so far remembered as a revolution of video games. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of the first Metroidvanias of all, with a long journey in a complex and full of secrets castle. Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, for the people who likes card games, this was a very fun, and is still well played to this day. Crash Bandicoot, a very original 3D platformer game, with a charismatic Bandicoot as the protagonist, a nice gameplay and soundtrack. Digimon World, a very good RPG set in the universe of Digimon, considered so far as the best game of the series ever released, with impressive graphics. Resident Evil 2, after the first Resident Evil, the zombies escaped and became a true horror in Raccoon City, and now the new characters, Leon and Claire, will take care of the job. Medieval, a charismatic and in the same time dark action-adventure game, with a very fun character and a fluid gameplay for its time. Parasite Eve, a very interesting game that mixes survival horror with RPG. The gameplay is kinda similar to Resident Evil, but with its own style. Silent Hill, an absolute scary survival horror, set in a semi-open city, the famous Silent Hill, with the worst nightmares you could expect. Final Fantasy VIII, one more great Final Fantasy adventure, mixing fantasy and sci-fi in the story, with good characters, as always, and an insane journey. Gran Turismo, the first game of what would become a great racing games series, impressive 3D realistic racing game for its time. Dino Crisis, a unique survival horror where you must survive the dinosaurs. It's in the same style of Resident Evil, but with its own mechanics. Chrono Trigger, thought by many as the best JRPG of all time, the game is set in a huge and immersive world, with a massive storytelling and a fun gameplay. Final Fantasy IX, another Final Fantasy here, and again, a great game, with new features and systems, a nice story mode and a solid JRPG experience. GTA 1, the first GTA ever made. It wasn't a 3D game yet, but still a very fun sandbox game, with an impressive freedom for its time. Resident Evil 3, after Resident Evil 1, Jill is back to take care of what's left of Raccoon City, and now facing the biggest threat so far, the Nemesis. Gran Turismo 2, the returning of Gran Turismo, now with better graphics, gameplay, physics, and more tracks and cars, another great PS1 success. Parasite Eve 2, the second adventure in this amazing universe, still with a great gameplay and story, with some new features and characters. Crash Bandicoot 2, Crash is back, but now with new features, new levels, bosses, musics, and still a very fun platformer game. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, an immersive and fun action-adventure game set in an interesting fanciful world, with a fine combat system. Spyro the Dragon, an original and charismatic platforming game with a very fun and unique gameplay set in semi-open stages, with nice soundtracks. Crash Team Racing. After the platforming adventures of Crash, he was ready for another adventure, kart races, with a fluid gameplay and nice maps. Harvest Moon Back to Nature, thought by many as the best farming game ever created, with a very good gameplay and almost infinite things to do. Vagrant Story, a hidden gem from PlayStation 1, a solid and extremely good RPG. Those who know the games loves it, but it's not so popular today. Tarzan, a very fun platforming game set in the story of Tarzan, with good graphics and a nice gameplay in 2D and also 3D levels. Tekken 3, one of the most famous fighting series of the world in its third game, with a great gameplay, quirky characters and nice soundtracks. Diablo, a dark and atmospheric RPG game, set in a brutal universe with different demons, an excellent game for those who wants to spend hours playing. Chrono Cross is the sequel of Chrono Trigger. Now the game is set in a 3D experience, with a great gameplay and still a nice storyline. Xenogears, a solid and huge RPG adventure, and was the first game of what would become a great RPG series in the next years. Crash 3 Warped, and one more time Crash was back to save the world from Cortex, but now with a time machine, sending you back and forth to different times. Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, a new adventure of the famous Purple Dragon, with the same core of gameplay, but now with some new features and a lot of new levels. Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, a very good fighting game set in the story of Dragon Ball GT, with a lot of playable characters and classic fights. Parappa the Rapper, a very famous musical game, with interesting characters and a rhythm gameplay style, very fun. Final Fantasy Tactics, when Final Fantasy decided to make a tactical RPG, and they simply created one of the best games of the style, amazing to this day. Driver You Are the Wheelman, a game that caught everyone off guard back then, with an impressive gameplay fluency and graphics for its time. Tomb Raider 2, a new Lara Croft adventure, with some new features, refined gameplay, and a whole new story. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, a very fun skating game set in different scenarios, with different objectives. You got a timer, and need to do some of them before the time's over. GTA 2, a new version of what would become the most revolutionary video game series of all time, but still set in an upper camera, but a fun gameplay. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, one of the best ranked games on Metacritic so far, still in the same style of the first game, but with better graphics and levels. Crash Bash, the last Crash game for PlayStation 1, and here, the core was different. It was a sort of board game, extremely fun to play with friends. Siphon Filter, a fun and immersive third-person shooter, and here, the main feature was the stealth, and it was really fun to try to finish the levels undetected. Dino Crisis 2, the sequel of the original game, as good as the original one, but now with new locations, characters, and of course, new dinosaurs. Spyro Year of the Dragon, the last Spyro game so far, still very good. All the 3 games got a remastered version, and a 4th game is supposedly in development. Disney's Hercules, a Hercules 3D and also 2D platforming game, with a fun gameplay and a fine level design, must play. Tomb Raider 3, as the first 2 games, this was a great and immersive action adventure, again controlling Lara Croft, against different types of enemies in different levels. Driver 2 The Wheelman is back, the next adventure of the series after the success of the first game, now with better graphics, gameplay, and new levels and goals.